Bowl week is all about stories around the NFL. It's not just the game itself, and there was plenty of news that came out of San Francisco last week. And Arthur, let's start first with the big retirements. Calvin Johnson's hanging him up. Marshawn Lynch is hanging him up. We knew Charles Woodson was probably done, Justin Tuck, and then, of course, there's Peyton Manning hanging out there. There is some real star power leaving the NFL.
And I think the first two you named are the most surprising because they're as close to still in the primes of their careers as anyone on the list. But I want to be careful before I start lumping them in with all the stunning San Francisco retirements last year. Marshawn Lynch is so eccentric. I don't know how to kind of, categorize what he's doing. Calvin Johnson, the bumps and bruises clearly have weighed on him. And for the Lions to lose Ndamukong Suh and Calvin Johnson in back-to-back off seasons, franchise-type players, it's a major shift in the NFC North.
Kevin, as you might expect, Roger Goodell was pushed on Deflategate. There's an appeal hearing coming next month. He still refuses to back down, says it's not about Tom Brady, it's about the CBA. But asked, will there be as deep an investigation of Peyton Manning, the HGH incident? Goodell tap danced around it, and the bottom line was he said, we're not investigating it right now.
Yeah, which didn't surprise anybody. I think that's the way he handled it. I don't think that might be one where the league doesn't maybe want to know what's behind door number two in the Peyton Manning situation. I think it could maybe open up an opportunity for the NFL to maybe adjust some of their own laws if somebody like Peyton Manning was, culpable of using some of this stuff. We don't really know, and I know this is a report that's been kind of put off to the side, but Roger Goodell sets himself up for these kind of questions when he goes so hard at something like Deflategate. Now, anything that comes up, whether it's real or not, we're going to have to ask him about it.
And asked about whether he would consider a change in how the personal conduct code is governed and penalties are handed out, he said he would, but it has to be negotiated off the record behind the scenes with the CBA. He refuses to discuss it publicly. But Arthur, what he did tell us, NFL going back to Mexico, 2005, the last time. There will be a game November 21st of this year between the Texans and the Raiders. 3 games in London this year. But Goodell said a franchise in Europe and London, it's definitely a possibility. He's not ready to commit anything there yet.
Yeah, and I don't know that it really makes sense for him to close the door completely, as hard as it is for us to figure out all the logistics of such a situation. I don't think we think it's very feasible. But none of this comes as a huge surprise. We know that they are set on global expansion. Mexico is a step in that direction. They're going to have 2 talented teams this time, maybe 2 up-and-comers. That's kind of a departure from what's been in London in recent years.
And one more, Kevin, interesting dichotomy here. Asked whether the league would reconsider its stance on marijuana now that it's approved legally for medicinal purposes in 23 states, recreational purposes in several states, Roger Goodell said no. He said our medical experts are still saying no. Asked about daily fantasy games, he said, well, that's up to the state authorities. So when the state authorities pass laws on pot, it's a no. Daily fantasy, Roger Goodell wants to keep his options open.
Well, the NFL makes money off daily fantasy, and last I checked, they don't make any money off marijuana. Now, I'm sure of any business, the NFL is going to find a way to get into the marijuana business if it becomes, more national. But that was the biggest thing that I took from that entire press conference, because when Roger Goodell talks about player safety and player health, there are documented players who have talked about medicinal marijuana being that kind of thing that can keep them healthy, and the fact that they are so strict about it when so many states are alleviating some of their laws is mind-boggling, but it's also classic Roger Goodell.
Finally, there was the L.A. story. Roger Goodell took great pride and pleasure in the fact that the Rams will be there in 2016, but he also stressed that the year will be spent by the Chargers and the Raiders trying to get stadiums built in San Diego and Oakland. We don't know if that's real or not, but that's the league's position at the moment. For all the best NFL news, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, this is where you're going to get it. Stay where you're at ChicagoFootball.com.